Shall I say the name of my dog instead of saying my dog all the
Well,
time?
well, you said you were going to keep it a surprise, but I'm surprised I haven't even blurted it out yet because do you want everybody to know what the name of your future
Should
doggo will
I?
be? I don't
Mm,
know.
I I'm gonna keep it a secret.
Okay.
I call him future dog.
Okay.
FD.
FD.
So FD is gonna be a therapy D. Heidi,
Vero!
it's Let's Boop Snoots time.
It is time to boop a snoots.
Boopala snoot. So today we're gonna talk about a webinar that me and Heidi went to, or virtually went to,
Mhm.
about therapy dogs, which I was very excited about. And then we're going to talk about foods that are toxic and plants that are toxic for your dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the webinar that we attended is part of an organization in Canada called St. John's Ambulance. It is Canada wide and they provide a variety of different services. And the therapy dogs is one of the um, services that they provide across Canada.
Yeah. And I
So
was
that,
very excited because that's something I want to do with my dog.
yows.
Shall I say the name of my dog instead of saying my dog all the
Well,
time?
well, you said you were going to keep it a surprise, but I'm surprised I haven't even blurted it out yet because do you want everybody to know what the name of your future
Should
doggo will
I?
be? I don't
Mm,
know.
I'm going to keep it a secret.
Okay.
I call him future dog.
Okay.
FD.
FD.
So FD is going to be a therapy D.
That sounds so okay. Whew. Okay, get it back together. Okay. Yes, so Vero's future dog is going to be a therapy dog, and we're very
Yes.
excited about that. So
Yes.
we decided to have a listen in and see what's involved in the process, how to get started. And I was very surprised at some of the requirements.
Yes, me
And
too.
so, anyways, you take it away. Talk about sort of how the webinar was like laid out or whatever, and some of the stuff they said. And we'll.
So they kind of spoke about what they expect from like the human. So your dog has to be at least 1 years old, which isn't that bad because there's another association or company in Ottawa, and I believe your dog has to be two. But I think they said your dog can be like a little bit younger, a little bit older. It doesn't matter. And I think was there an age limit? Was it 10?
Maybe it was 10.
I think it was
Like
10.
I wonder, like, if they like, and unfortunately, there was quite a few people in the group, so they did a really good job about answering a lot of the questions at the end of the webinar. But I would have liked to ask them like a whole lot more, but I got quite a few in there. But
Yeah,
I wonder if they get like super inappropriate people that show up and they're like, I want to be a therapy dog with my dog, and their dog is like literally like coughing and wheezing and like on death's door, or like just totally completely rambunctious, and I wonder if they can tell right out at the get-go like this is going to work or this is not going to work, and how they break
probably.
break that to the human. But I
Yeah.
I don't remember them talking about an age limit. I can't remember what they said, but I would imagine that it would be more difficult for an aged dog to
Yeah.
to complete these sort of tasks.
And they talk about talked about the evaluation. So what it entails, like a lot of distractions, loud noises, how your dog reacts to loud noises. They even talked about thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Right? Because somebody asked, like your dog cannot be startled by loud noises because if your dog is in the hospital and there's a loud noise, like a cart going by, they can't be startled or react to that.
Hmm.
And somebody asked, like, oh, their dog is afraid of thunderstorms. Well, as long as, like, that's the only thing they're scared of.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like the boom, the thunder, and something sounds like thunder, like, is your dog going to react to that the same way that they react to thunderstorms? Because my parents had a dog called Sandy. She was a golden retriever, and she knew when a storm was coming. Like, it was still sunny outside, and you could see her starting to, like, freak out and try to dig in the carpet to make herself, like, a little hole to hide. So, to her, it wasn't really the noise, but I don't know if it was, like, she could just sense it
Yeah,
coming.
Scraps was the same for us. He did not like thunder, and he did not like fireworks, which are kind of like similar, right? Like it's that loud
Mhm.
cracking noise and stuff. And again, when we got him, like we weren't super knowledgeable about training and stuff, so he would come panting and literally shaking to us, and we would be like, "Oh, it's okay," like petting him and basically rewarding like that behavior. And so but I've heard of like nightmare stories where dogs like literally like cannot deal and they become super destructive, or they're like super freaked out and they whine and they howl.
Yeah.
I think my cousin had two hound dogs, and if there was like a thunderstorm
Oh,
overnight,
man.
they wouldn't sleep because the dogs would just like bark and whine like incessantly.
Wow.
And she tried like the thunder shirts and all of that, and like nothing seemed to work. But
Thunder shirts.
I would love to ask Jeff Gelman about that, like about dogs and storms, and if
Oh,
that's like
yeah.
a correctable behavior, and if he's done that before. But anyways, I digress from our webinar. So yeah, they mentioned yeah, a lot of that stuff. I think like some of the first stuff that they said was that, so it was interesting because in one of the first slides it said that they welcome all breeds of dogs. They said
Yes.
that they do have to be one because I think they want them to have all their vaccines and give you a chance to do the training and like some basic training with your dog. I think they said that dogs don't have to come necessarily with basic training. Like they'll give you the sort of tools to get some of this stuff down, that
Mhm.
they do with the therapy dogs. They visit facilities only, so they go to universities, colleges, retirement homes, hospitals, airports,
Nursing
airports,
homes.
nursing homes. It was a lot of mostly medical facilities, with the exception of like airports, which they said that's fairly new to their program. So there, it's like work in progress there.
Yeah. I've seen
Um,
pictures of that. That
yeah,
looks interesting too.
I think I've seen videos too. What is it? Just like
Mhm.
people waiting for flights, and it's just like
I think people
depressing
that
and
have
boring. And
well, I think it's people that have anxiety when they
oh,
fly. Mhm.
so do they bring the dogs on the planes with them?
I don't think so. I'd have to pretend like I have anxiety next
Have you
time I go on
ever
a
been on a
plane.
plane with a doggo?
No.
I have.
A
So I
little
went,
doggo?
no, a big doggo. So
Ooh.
Michelle, my friend that I mentioned quite
Ooh,
frequently on this show,
yes.
and I went to New Orleans. So she did her due diligence and started training Nikita like months and months in advance. So Nikita is like a shepherd. Like she's a long body and a half. She's a skinny body, but
Mhm.
she's a long body and a pointy, foxy snout. And she came on the plane with us, and she literally curled up into the tiniest little bagel underneath the seat on front of us. And there were some
Oh,
people that didn't even know that there was a dog traveling with us. Like one person walked by and they were like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't even know that there was a dog there." But it took a lot of training on Michelle's part, and Nikita was wearing a vest that said "No touchy touchy." So she's not there for
mhm.
people to be like, "Oh, you come and pet," because that's hard work for her, to remain
It
calm and
is.
stay in her little bagel. But anyways, so
Oh, Nikita.
interesting. I'll be interested to see how far they take that aspect of their program, if they're going to be taking dogs into
Yeah.
aeroports.
Yeah.
Yes.
The one thing I was disappointed was that your dog cannot be on a raw diet.
Oh, yes,
Because
that
it's
was
the
surprising.
facilities, right? They're worried about the bacteria that they might bring in to the patients or the clients. So that was one thing I was disappointed about because I'm planning on feeding FD, my future dog,
Yeah,
a raw diet. So we'll
yeah,
see. They did say though that some facilities accept it, so we'll see.
yeah. So as we got further into the webinar, you sort of started to see what some of the restrictions were, and so the ones that again I found surprising was like Vero just mentioned, the raw diet, because to me it's like if you feed your dog like a raw diet in the morning and then way later on in the afternoon, there's not going to be any bacteria left over in the mouth. Like dogs clean themselves
No.
like regularly, right? Like I forget. I can't remember like reading like a sort of scientific like, fun fact somewhere that like dogs' mouths are like more frequently cleaned or whatever than like humans are even sometimes, or maybe there was like that whole myth of like, is a dog bite really like that nastier than a human bite, like who's got more bacteria in their mouth,
Yeah.
you know?
What if I eat like beef tartare? And then I
Yeah,
go see somebody at the hospital and I give them
they
a little
they
smooch.
didn't say that humans couldn't be on a raw food diet.
I like my
um
beef tartare and tuna tartare.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I had for them, and they sort of answered it before we got there, was because like I said in one of the opening slides, they said that we welcome all breeds, and I found that kind of surprising. Like I said, and what I wanted to ask them are you sort of like weary on like certain breeds? Because like for instance, like huskies can be really difficult to train for that type of scenario. Like they're very um like excitable, they're full of like energy, and again like there are like you know traits related to some breeds, but just like humans, every dog's an individual, and like just like Wiggum was like this like sack of potatoes that you couldn't excite for like for anything. You get like some dogs like that, and other like I've seen a calm husky before, and
Yeah.
I've seen like psychotic like huskies. Oh my god, I've got stories. But anyways, so I my question to them was, are you weary on certain breeds because of their traits and that it might not be suitable for your program? But later on in a slide, they said that they do not allow pit bulls, which
Mhm.
that's going to be a little topic that maybe we'll talk about later on. Is sort of like the
Yeah.
breed bullying or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I've met quite a few pit bulls in my life, and they were absolute sweethearts.
They
And
look like sweethearts. Like I see some like I mean, I see videos of them.
well, exactly, yeah.
They're not gonna put a video
Post.
of like a pit bull biting a baby, but they just seem
Sometimes they do,
very
though. I
like
bet you probably could
cuddly.
search that up too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
probably.
yeah,
Like they just seem so cuddly and you see pictures of them and they just look like they always have a big smile.
yes, I know the
It's
big
just like
beefcakes. They're big
yeah.
beefy dogs.
Yeah, with
But
the big
so
smile.
I found that surprising, and I wonder if it's just because like like we said, most of the places they're visiting are sort of these medical facilities, and if like there's the elderly people that are yeah, and like I said, we'll talk about this later. Each decade, it's been a different type of dog that's been like the big fear and ban on like breeds. It's been German Shepherds, it's been Dobermans. Right now, it's pit bulls. That a lot of places are changing that now, to that there's no more ban. But once a breed gets a reputation, maybe they don't want to like scare the elderly by bringing pit bulls into their homes,
Yeah.
which is fair enough. But I found that surprising, and they even mentioned that they were not willing to answer too many questions about it because they didn't want to get into the whole political like aspect of it, which I completely respect, and
Yeah.
that's not what that webinar was for. I totally get it, but I found that surprising. Um, the other thing that I found surprising was um, your dog has to be able to conduct like the evaluation and like the duties involved on a flat collar leash. So you couldn't use any
Yeah.
kind of correctable equipment. You cannot use an e-collar, you cannot use a prong collar, you cannot use a slip lead. It has to be a flat collared leash and a flat leash.
I wonder if that's like the same thing as not allowing like pit bulls as a breed. Like if you show up with a dog with a prong collar, some people think that,
You're
it's
abusing them, or
intense and
yeah,
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 when you're not.
yeah, yeah. So I found that interesting because like I said, like my Gibbs is perfect on the prong, but like I don't
Yeah.
think I could do him on a. He would pull me into the nursing home. I'd probably break a hip and have to book a room.
Let's go see all the friends.
Yeah, exactly. What else did What else did we talk about in the webinar? I'm trying to remember.
They just talked about, well, St. John's Ambulance, like how
Yeah.
it all started.
Hmm.
Um,
Most of them are Goldens. Most
yes.
of the dogs
So
that they
this
have.
was
Yep.
this was put together by Golden Rescue,
Hmm.
which is a rescue Association that you can rescue Goldens. They just brought like 23 or 24 Golden Retrievers from Egypt, and they're bringing another 23.
Oh,
Oh,
ooh.
I just
One
want them
day,
all.
one day.
Yes.
What was involved in the training? They said,
Handle high distractions,
yeah. Oh, yeah. They
loud
they they
noises.
they go to. This was another one of the programs that they do, and it was involved with children. So they go to schools and talk about dog safety. So how to approach the dog. You know, you always ask,
Mm-hmm.
"May I pet your dog?" Where to pet the dog. You put out your hand, let them sniff. Then you pet like on the top of the head. We were gentle about it. So they talked about not being reactive to these types of sounds. So they talked about like specifically to the children's program, and I think they do special ed programs as well for some kids in the special ed. And so they just talked about kids screaming or shouting because they're excited for the dogs, right? And like their first whole thing is to just like run at the dog. Everybody wants to pet a dog. Maybe not everybody, because there's some people who are afraid
Most
of
people.
dogs, but most people want to come up and pet your dog. So not being overwhelmed by like a large group of people. So I
Yes.
think that was like part of it. And like you had mentioned, like the high loud sudden noises. So like they talked about nursing homes and things being dropped, like a bedpan or something like that on the on the ground. Is your dog going to react or anything like that? So they do a lot of that as well. And they said, a
Ooh,
reaction like looking at it and then like you can have them recover from it immediately. That's like totally fine. But if
yeah.
your dog like runs and cowers under a bed somewhere and you can't get them out, obviously that's no good.
Mm-mm. And they
Mhm.
also said being able to walk. How did they say this? Like being able to walk and avoid like obstacles. So if you're walking down like a hospital hallway and there's patients walking, like your dog has to know that he's the one or she's the one that has to get out of the way and not the patient.
Oh, yes. And they also talked about having your dog comfortable around medical equipment such as wheelchairs and walkers and
Mhm.
and that type of thing. So that not being like super surprising to them or knowing what to do with it, being like, "Oh my God, what is that thing on wheels? That's not a car. I can't
Well, they're
chase
going to be
after
used to masks.
that." Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And obviously they're not running their program right now during COVID for obvious reasons. There's like basically zero traffic in and out of like nursing homes at the moment. um, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of like online discussion about whether COVID can even be transmissible like through dogs.
Yeah.
I haven't read much about that. I don't know if I believe that to be true or not, but
I don't know. But
I don't,
apparently they
don't
did say
know.
they were doing like virtual visits.
Oh yes, that's good.
Mhm.
And I asked them if they um, serve special requests. So people who are palliative in their homes, and do they ever do home visits for people requesting that? And they said, unfortunately not, because it becomes a liability issue. So for instance, like, if the handler is coming into a facility and slips on the ice outside and breaks their elbow or whatever, that like the facility has like liability insurance if that should become a problem or a matter to be dealt with. Whereas like if you go to somebody's home, they may not necessarily have that. I mean, there's home insurance, but do you really want to turn this like lovely program into like a legal battle? No. So
Yeah.
liability becomes an issue for a lot of them, they said. Did I asked about cost and they didn't answer. I don't think they
Yeah.
got to my question, so I wasn't
I
sure what
wonder
the.
how much.
Yeah,
I wonder.
I wonder
I
um
wonder.
what the costs are associated with going to this, or whether it's literally just all volunteer and you show up and train your doggo for fun.
Maybe.
One last thing they said about the evaluation too is that like if your dog fails like the first evaluation, they give you one more try, I think, because we all have bad days. Same with doggos.
Mhm.
Good days, bad days.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And these lovely people, Golden Rescue Canada, are throwing another virtual event soon,
Hmm.
and it's about basic dog grooming. Ooh,
Ooh.
so I think I'm gonna go to that one too.
I'm definitely going to go to that one. Michelle.
Especially if they're grooming golden retrievers.
Oh my god. Yes.
Hmm.
See, I was speaking to a friend of mine recently who apparently I did not know this, one of my colleagues, that she used to be a professional dog groomer, and I think we were talking about doing an episode on that. So definitely go to that
Oh, that's
virtual
so
event.
cool.
I learned something very interesting from her because when I was talking to her, I said, "Could you show me how?" And she said, "Sure." And then she said, "What kind of dogs do you have?" And I said, "Well, I have a Weimaraner, so there's not much grooming involved there. It's pretty much just like nails and ears because they're like short haired, right?" And she said, "Oh, let me guess, is he a huge baby with his paws?" And I made a point of touching his paws like since I had the day I had him until even
Yeah.
now. And he's a huge baby. Like he does it like, but he'll cower away, like he hates it. He hates having his nails clipped, and I force him to come and sit on the mat and give me his paw, and like he very like slowly and like reluctantly like gives me his paw.
If I have to.
Slowly puts it out, and then like I clip one nail or two, and then he's like, "I've had enough," and he walks away, and I'm like, "Gibbon, get back here, come sit." And I make him come and sit like every time, but he absolutely hates it. So I was like, "What did I do wrong?" Like I touched his paws like literally every day, but apparently it's a Weimaraner trait. So she was like,
Oh,
"Yeah," she's like, "That's Weimaraners for you," and I was like, "What a diva, my little div."
it's funny. They all have their little things. I know Wiggum didn't like his paws being touched. Like he would touch one and then he would pull it back.
Hmm.
So when I cut his nails, he would fight for like 5 seconds and then he'd lie down on his side and then I could just cut his nails. But like once in a while, he'd like pull it back.
Yeah, but I'm actually for Christmas, I've asked for a new tool, and maybe this is like some another thing we can discuss on another episode. Is
A Dremel?
like our favorite, yes, a Dremel,
A Dremel?
because that sometimes I worry about cutting. They're quick, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But anyways, we totally digressed again.
Yes.
But grooming,
Okay.
yes, another webinar.
Yeah,
We
that would be
shall.
fun.
So, do you like? Did you look at any other therapy programs for FD, Vero's future dog?
I did.
Eh,
One was, I think they're called Ottawa therapy dogs. So
Yep.
I just looked at the requirements quickly
Hmm.
after that webinar because I was curious about the raw food.
Hmm.
And I believe it's 2 years old for them. The dog has to
Hmm.
be at least two. And also the raw food, like they don't like that the blah, I can't talk.
Yeah. The,
How did
if,
they
if
say this? I can't remember the word they use.
not preferential or something like that,
Yeah, raw food diet non
not preferred or not.
yeah. So I guess it depends on, I guess they go on a case to case basis. I don't know.
I find that so weird. I wonder where like I wonder who on like their board of directors was like, yeah, and we're not going to let dogs who eat raw food in. That's like totally like a danger. It's so not. I
Is
don't
it
think
the
it is.
directors from like St. John's or is it the facilities like the hospitals?
Oh, I
I
wonder.
think it's the facilities.
Maybe the facilities, like maybe they have a meeting with them and just say like, do you have any concerns? But who would even bring, like who even thought of that? Because like it's just like I don't know.
I don't
I don't
know.
agree. I don't agree with that. I
Yeah, me
don't.
neither.
I fed, like I said, I fed Gibbon raw for like days. I would continue to do it if I had the time and money to do it with. I was just talking to Vero on the weekend because I know I've said this so many times on our show, but our phones, they're listening to us, I swear. But anyways, I saw this ad for a Canadian raw food a dog food company. So out of curiosity, I clicked on it because they had these like they nailed it as far as advertising went, like a very beautifully done website and everything like that. And most of these like food websites have a calculator on it to calculate how many pounds of raw food your dog should be eating. So I put it asked for the breed and it asked for how old he is and it asked how active he is and what his body weight is at. Like, is it ideal? Is he an obese? And that type of stuff. And when I put it in for 2 weeks of food for Gibbon was going to cost me $250. It's like,
That's
oh my
insane.
God. But it's delivered fresh to your door. There's no, like I mentioned before, there's no like handling. It's almost like a Hello Fresh or like a good food type
Oh,
thing
wow.
where like they deliver like weekly and there's like no fuss, no muss. You like put it in the dog's bowl and you're good to go. So
Yeah,
but you pay for it
you
apparently.
do.
It is very pricey, so hats off
Oh,
to whoever
man.
can afford it if I win the lottery, I will definitely be filling out more on that website. It's, homegrown Canadian, beautifully done. Like I said, I would love to support them, but I cannot justify spending that
Yeah.
much money,
I'm
unfortunately,
looking
in
at
our
that other
household.
place that I showed you, so we'll see.
Mm, yeah,
It's a little bit more reasonable in price.
yeah,
Oh, we will see. I would
yes,
love to feed a raw diet, but I think that's a decision I'm going to make
yeah,
like a week or two before I get my dog.
yeah. See what's
Depends
out
what
there,
the
see what's
breeder is
available.
also feeding the
Hmm.
puppy at the time that we pick the puppy up.
Hmm. Yeah, let's see how it goes. All right.
Mhm.
So, anything else to say about the webinar on St. John's Ambulance? I don't think so. They were very nice people. They seemed to be
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
very passionate about what they do. Like I said, it was very informative. They answered a lot of questions. They stayed past the time. Um, there was a couple of questions that I wish I could have asked more about. Like, again, like I would have asked more about the raw food thing and where that comes from, and would have asked sort of like, yeah, I would have liked to have that discussion with them. But
Just
nice people,
curious.
nice group. They got a good thing going there. It sounds like they're
They
expanding
do.
into other areas. So it'll be interesting to see where that program goes.
Yeah. They've been successful, like very successful.
Yeah.
Successful so
Successful.
far.
Yeah.
Successful so far.
Yeah. They had stats at the beginning of their episode, and they have like thousands of dogs across Canada like doing these programs. So yeah, it's going well. Good for
Yeah, and
them.
I think the numbers of like humans doing it and the number of dogs, like the number of dogs was a lot more than the number of humans. So
And
this like people have more than one dog doing this.
see, what I wanted to ask them is, do you need to have your own dog to participate in this program? Or can you show up like with one of the rescues? Like, could you foster or something like that? Could you do it with a foster?
Mm,
Or could you do it like with a dog provided by, even like Golden Rescue or whatever?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's some people that don't have dogs, but it doesn't mean they don't want to participate in the doggo world.
Yeah.
But alas, we will ask them another day.
On to our food toxicity and plant toxicity. So I
Plant
guess we'll be
toxicity.
bouncing back and forth.
Do you want to bounce back and forth, or do you want to do plants first and then food next?
We can bounce back and forth.
All
I
right,
feel
let's
mine are
bounce.
very like they're all the same.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say diarrhea a lot.
It's another vomiting and diarrhea episode, folks.
Yep. So yeah, so I tried to find the most common houseplants.
Hmm. I was going to
We'll
say
talk
maybe
about this.
we should try to get a sponsor from Pepto Bismol.
Hey, Pepto Bismol.
Yeah. All right. What plants did you find?
The aloe vera,
Oh, that's poisonous for dogs.
moderately toxic,
Okay,
causes vomiting and diarrhea.
there it is, folks. V and D.
Do
Is that it?
you want me to continue?
Yes. What's
Okay.
what's in the aloe vera plant that makes them so sick?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay. All right. So when
There's some that I did write down.
okay. I found a variety of different websites that, again, all of the lists were pretty much identical. And here are some. I will go to number one on my list that is toxic, and it is avocados. Um, so it contains a toxin called persin, and it's a perfectly safe person. Persin. Person. There's a person in my avocado. I remember my kids, like, I guess they were watching this YouTuber, and he says like different names of like foods and fruits in like weird ways. So my kids kept walking around saying this like word in my house all the time. They were like free shabakadu, and it was like fresh avocado. So it was really hard for me not to say like dogs are allergic to free shabakadus. Anyways, uh, so obviously, avocados are safe for human consumption, but like I said, they have this toxin called persin, Persin, not an actual person, Person, and it's found in the avocado fruit, the pits, the leaves, and the bark. Now, I don't. see too many avocado leaves and bark hanging around people's places, but we do throw those pits in the green bin or in the garbage or whatever. So just keep an eye out for that. If a dog eats these, it says on a couple of these websites that it can cause a fluid accumulation in the dog's lungs.
Ooh.
And it can lead to oxygen deprivation, obviously, and even death, which is terrible.
Yeah.
So, potential fatal complications there, folks. So, keep a close eye on your free shavakadoos. All right, what you got next?
My next one is a peace lily.
Oh,
So these are they're like white flowers and they have like a cone shape thing in the middle that grows like upward. So they contain calcium oxalate crystals, which cause oral irritation, can cause excessive drooling, and up to difficulty swallowing. So if the dog eats it, it kind of like affects their
yeah.
mouth and their throat.
Did has have you ever seen Wiggum like drool like uncontrollably before, and you just like are like, why are you drooling so bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens to Becky when I take her like out on a walk at the dog park.
And they
Sometimes,
have like
sometimes
this
like
big string.
yes, like the
Yes.
big, long, stringy drool, and I'm just like, "What is making you drool so bad?" And I wonder if it's like some of the plants and vegetation like around in that area. Because I'm
Oh,
always just like,
maybe.
"Is it are you excited? Are you like?" Because at the cottage they don't. I never see
Oh,
them
it could
drool
be
like that.
that.
But anyways,
Or even
sorry
if
to
they
interrupt.
feel like they're gonna, maybe they feel pukey and
Yeah.
that's making them like drool. And then it like swings and then it gets like stuck to their face.
Oh God, I know, I know. Or it gets on other dogs. Gibbon gets Becky drool on him sometimes. It's so gross.
Peace, Lily.
Peace, Lily. All right.
Peace, Lily.
Peace, Lily. Um, so the second one on my list is a chemical called xylitol. So xylitol is a sugar alcohol, and it's often used in candy, chewing gum, toothpaste, and baked goods. And again, while safe for humans, it can be deadly for dogs. So eating foods that contain xylitol can lead to like sugar issues with dogs. So they get like a drop in their blood sugar, and get ready for it, folks. Sometimes after ingesting it, they get
Uh-oh.
vomiting and diarrhea.
No way.
Yeah. And it also says depression, difficulty moving, a coma, and seizures. And it says eventually xylitol can lead to liver damage and death.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's no good. And I feel bad because, like, once for Christmas, my kids got those pop rock candies, you know, those ones that like pop in your mouth.
Yeah.
And they were eating it. And Gibbon was like, what the heck is going like, he was like, what is this stuff like in your mouth? Like, what are you guys eating? Blah, blah, blah. And Maddox gave him a lick of it just to see what his reaction would be. And it wasn't a huge reaction, but I was like, please do not feed him that stuff. Like, you know, candy's bad for dogs. You shouldn't be feeding them like any human food at all. But we all, everybody's throwing their dog a pizza crust or, you know, something that falls
Mm-hmm.
on the floor. But yeah, xylitol, dangereux.
Big and no.
Big no no.
Another common plant or
Hmm.
flower, tulips.
What?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that
So it
either.
contains a toxic alkaloid. The leaves can cause an upset stomach, but if they dig up the bulbs and they eat that, that's what contains the most toxins.
Damn. Does it
I
give
didn't
them
really see.
vomiting and diarrhea?
I didn't really see what it. Oh yeah, it does.
Of
Can
course it does.
cause intense stomach upset,
Hmm.
depression, and loss of appetite.
I I want to know what depression looks like in dogs.
Yeah. Are they just
Because
mopey?
well, exactly, or like is it what's like how would you differentiate between depression or just lethargy, like they're just tired?
I'm wondering if that's what they like this website means.
I wonder if depression is, I'm trying to think, after Scraps died, like Becky for the first week didn't like she didn't act any differently. And again, like I remember talking about it to my dad and my husband. After a week though, where maybe it sunk in, and again, like dogs don't have like long-term memory either, but maybe it was just like, where is that dude? Or maybe she felt something was missing. But after a week, she started to act weird, and she would sit just like literally facing a wall staring at it for like long periods of
Oh,
time. And she would wanted to go outside, and she would just like stay there on the deck where like he used to lay all the time. And like so again, like I don't know if that's just like some weird behavior that she just picked up and we're personalizing it because we're experiencing like the loss of Scrappy, or I wonder if they truly like experience loss, you know what I mean? Or
probably.
grief or whatever.
Because I know when I came back from Kelowna, my parents' dog, well, had Wiggum for about 5 months,
Hmm.
and my mom told me like he looks like he's looking for you, like he's mopey and just like he misses you.
Oh
I
man.
was like, oh, Wiggum,
Oh, we good.
I miss you too.
All right, so is it my turn? We went from tulip bulbs, right? Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
me next. All right. So the next one on my list is coffee, tea, and other caffeinated products. So caffeine is,
Mm.
yeah, I love coffee. I love me some coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Caffeine is naturally found in coffee, tea, cocoa, and guarana, a South American plant. You, everybody knows where to find caffeine. It's in the soft drinks as well, sometimes in medications. And caffeine speeds up the heart rate and stimulates the nervous system in dogs. So dogs can experience restlessness, excessive thirst, a lack of bladder control. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Oh.
V and D,
V and
vomiting
D.
and B and D. And the other thing is, if you're letting them ingest too much caffeine, it can cause like heart arrhythmias. It's the same in
I think
humans. You
it's,
know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's
same
you
for
have to think
us.
about it. So like if we have 1 cup of coffee a day, that's totally fine for us. But if you're drinking like 10 cups of coffee a day, you're gonna have heart arrhythmia. You're gonna have you know like it's a diuretic, so you're gonna which means it makes you pee a lot. Like get rid of
Gonna be
that extra,
dehydrated.
so you're going to be dehydrated and all those bad things, which you know is a lot for us. But if you give like a dog a significant amount of caffeine of any kind, it's going to take way less time to have negative effects on them. So I'm going to let a friend of mine know this because sometimes she gives her dog little sips of her coffee. I'm
Hmm,
going to say no, don't
not
do it,
good.
don't do it. All right,
Not
your turn.
good. All right, next one. Lily of the Valley.
Oh, I love that flower.
I know.
It smells so
And like,
nice.
and Lily sounds so nice too. Like, oh, it's Lily of the Valley. She's not so nice.
No.
She smells sweet and she's cute. She's like a cute little bell shaped flower.
Mhm.
But small amounts can cause heart problems. So it causes heart rhythm changes,
Oh
just
my
like
god.
coffee.
I was gonna say, is there caffeine in Lily of the Valley?
Maybe.
Is she caffeinated?
And the leaves and the bulbs can lead to seizures and coma. So
Oh.
stay away from lily. All the
Uh,
lilies, actually. Peace
it's
lily and lily
Peace
of the
Lily.
valley.
Bally Lily. Bally Lily. She's from the valley. She's a valley girl. That's funny, but also sad. I really do like the smell of that flower. Like people usually have them like as like in their gardens as like I'm not sure if they're perennial or not. And to tell you the truth, I know absolutely nothing about gardening, but I can remember them being like on the trail into my dad's house, like into the backyard. And when you'd walk down, it would smell like so good. They smell like amazing. I love
Mm,
them. All right, is it
they
my
are cute
turn?
little flowers.
They are cute little flowers too. It looks like a bunch of bells like hanging off of a stem. They're very cute. I like it. All right, next on my list is grapes and raisins. And I didn't know that either. And like my kids eat like a ton of like trail mix with raisins in it. So I didn't know this. And I'm going to have
Hmm.
to make sure nothing gets left out. So, grapes and raisins can be extremely toxic to dogs. They can cause rapid kidney failure. Uh, obviously, which is fatal. And although they don't know what the toxic compounds are in dogs, they can make your dog very, very sick. So it varies from dog to dog, but like apparently, like studies have been done and found that several dogs have died after eating just even a handful of raisins or grapes. So if you come home and notice a bunch of grapes missing, I would be taking them to the vet because it could potentially be fatal.
Yes.
Or start shoveling that, like we mentioned on an episode before. Even if you're not sure, I would still give them a tablespoon of the uh,
Hydrogen peroxide.
yes, hydrogen peroxide to get them barfing as soon as ASAP.
Yeah.
So it
Wiggum
says,
ate a bunch of grapes.
yeah, I remember you telling me
Yeah.
that. And what, and you guys went to the vet, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited because I was taking Wiggum to the pet expo,
Mm-hmm.
but I left home for about an hour and I came back and all the grapes were gone.
Oh my
So
god.
yeah, trip to the vet, not to the pet expo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. All right,
All
what you got?
right.
You got anything else?
I have one.
Do you? What is it?
Yeah.
Is it a
I don't
lily?
even know how to pronounce this.
Oh, really?
It's probably going to sound in my head, it sounds like I'm trying to start a lawnmower when I said this. When I say this, rhododendron.
Oh, yes, rhododendron.
Rhododendron. Rhododendron.
Okay.
Common sign, upset stomach, of
Mhm.
course.
Mhm.
Now, only if dogs eat a lot of it, they can get tremors, get low blood pressure, and heart rhythm changes. So no rhododendron.
No rhododendron.
No.
We're gonna have we should definitely post this on the website, the list of stuff, and people can look it up because I can't even think
Yes,
of what
with
a
like pictures.
rhododendron looks like. Yeah, for sure. Oh,
Rhododendron.
show.
Let me see. I've looked at so many flowers today. They're all like a big mix in my head.
So tune in for our next podcast on flowers.
I don't even know how to describe these. They're very beautiful.
Yeah.
A lot of pink and purple colors and white.
We'll post the photos. We'll post some photos.
Hmm.
All right. Is it my turn again?
Yes.
So the next one on my list is alcohol and yeast dough. So, alcohol obviously is found in a variety of different things: perfumes, mouthwash, paint, varnish. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but like dogs will eat this stuff if you leave it out. They come and take a sniff, and depending on like how much of an idiot your dog is, not to be mean to the idiot dogs out there, there's still room for them in our hearts. But
Aw.
they will eat the stuff. Like my brother-in-law has a husky, and if you drop a glass, he'll start eating the broken glass. So there's some dogs that just like literally
I
will
feel
eat
like Wiggum
anything.
was like that.
Oh my god. Yeah. So dogs cannot tolerate alcohol, like even in small amounts, apparently. And it usually starts like pretty rapidly, and it's like lack of muscle coordination. So I guess they get drunk doggies.
Aw.
Sounds like humans. Um, it says poor breathing, vomiting, and diarrhea, so seizures and coma, and stuff like that. And so just like not that people are. Oh yeah, I brought this up to you last night. Actually, I don't know if you guys have seen a series on Netflix called Love Is Blind. It was this ridiculous like reality show, and one of the ridiculous characters from the show, there's this like shot of her in her home, and she has a golden retriever, and she's drinking a glass of wine, and then she like puts it down and lets her dog take a lick, and then she keeps drinking out of the same glass, and she's like, he just loves wine, he loves it. Like I was just like, what are you doing?
What are you
No,
doing?
your dog
Yeah.
does not love wine. No, don't do it.
No.
So stay away from the alcohol. And also, it says it's concerning if a dog eats raw dough that contains yeast. Um, the so as yeast cells ferment, they produce alcohol. So and it can cause the dog's blood, like depending on how much they ingest, it can cause their blood alcohol level to rise and can be quite toxic and fatal.
Yes. It's absorbed very quickly too, eh?
Yeah. So, and when you think about it, like I would love to see like stats if vets are keeping them during this pandemic because people were buying dogs and baking bread, right?
Yeah,
Like
because there's no more flour on the shelves
exactly.
at the
People were
grocery
making
store.
like yeah, like who would have thought? Who would have thought we would have all become bread makers? Even here, like my husband started making like different kinds of bread. I was like, amazing, because I'd come home
Amazing.
from work and there'd be fresh bread. But
Mm.
I'll have to tell him, watch out, watch the dough.
I read that alcohol or like ethanol is used as an antidote for antifreeze poisoning.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, like
Yeah.
in animals or in humans too?
In oh, I don't know. In animals, but
Okay.
maybe in humans.
Hmm. Weird.
A little bit of antifreeze, a little bit of alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. You got any more plants?
I do.
Let's hear it.
It sounds like the other one. Philodendrons,
Philodendrons?
philodendrons. They have like beautiful, like big, well, biggish green leaves. They also have the insoluble calcium oxalate crystals that can irritate the dog's mouth and lips. So your dog might be pawing at their mouth, drooling, and like dry heaving if they
Hmm.
come into contact with those philodendrons. Philodendrons.
Yes. Philodendrons.
Mm-hmm.
Rhododendrons.
Philodendrons.
Philodendrons. Stay away from the dendrons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know those plants. I'm checking it out as you're talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have those in their homes. That's like a big,
Yeah.
huge, leafy like plant. It's almost like a fern, except it's like not as intricate as a fern. It's like a big, solid, like green leaf.
Yeah.
Very leafy.
They look nice.
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Zitamaturn again.
Mm-hmm.
It is. So this one almost everybody knows about. It's chocolate. Chocolate.
Mm.
So chocolate. I just said that's so weird. Chocolate conta-
Chocolate.
contains the stimulant chemicals theobromine and caffeine, both which are very difficult for dogs to metabolize. So if a dog eats chocolate, it can cause stomach pain. It can cause vomiting and diarrhea. Shocker. And dehydration. So that can, again, like depending on how much like it always depends on the size of your dog and how much you think they've ingested. And there is actually a poison control line for dogs because
Oh.
this happened to my mother-in-law last Christmas. She had all of this stuff out to decorate cookies with my kids, and Gracie, her little mini doodle, got into all of the candies like chocolate, and she just went to town. Like she was like nom nom nom. And I remember my mother-in-law freaking out and calling this line because she didn't know what to do, and like, should I take her to the vet? Should I not? She started like watching her to make sure she was like okay, and then she was like started Googling and found this line, and they just asked what the weight of the dog was, what was like the nature of the candy that she ate and stuff like that. And they said, no, she should be fine. Just give her some water and stuff like that. Um, Becky, the very first Christmas that we had with her, ate two like super ginormous Toblerone bars, two of them. Two of them.
Oh.
And same thing, like this is one of those things where I think people are like, they know that chocolate's bad, but and it was like we were like, oh crap, like what do we do? But like when we looked it up, I remember it saying it has everything to do with the amount of cocoa in it. So
Mm-hmm.
like if a dog were to eat like two Toblerones like Becky did, but she's a sizable dog, did she have like when they get we sorry to be like a graphic here, but when the dogs get their diarrhea from ingesting different things or whatever, we call it the brown laser in our family because they just like go out and like it's awful like in the
Pew
backyard.
pew.
And so Becky definitely got the brown laser from the Toblerone bars, but she was totally fine after like a couple of days. It passes through pretty quickly. And but it says like it, and it said on multiple of these websites that I was looking at, is that it's about the cocoa concentration. So if a dog was to eat like an ounce of baker's chocolate, that would be
Yeah,
enough, like, to
that'd be
cause like
bad.
super toxic symptoms in like a 44-pound dog. So like if you have
Mhm.
like a tiny dog that gets into that stuff, peroxide them and like go to the vet, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
agreed.
And so, and you want to, be careful around the chocolate heavy holidays such as Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween, Christmas. Like make sure you're putting that stuff away and up on a shelf. Keep it out of reach for the dogs.
No chocolats. What if you
Yeah.
have a chocolate dog?
Like Wiggum.
Like Wiggum?
Like Wiggum.
Oh, Wiggum.
Yes.
I'm looking up this plant.
Hmm. Which plant?
It's called, ooh, this is gonna, it's called, because it's popular. I've seen it before.
Hmm.
Dieffenbachia,
Whoa.
also known as dumb cane,
Oh.
like DUMB, dumb cane.
Oh, okay.
It makes the mouth, tongue, and lips burn.
Ooh.
Can make your dog drool, vomit, have a hard time breathing, and can lead to death.
Oh
So
my
that's a
God.
big no. But I think it's a popular one.
Oh yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing. A very like almost like the philodendron. It's
It's
like a big
like,
broad leaf that's like light green on the inside and dark green on the outside.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. Crazy.
mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. I'm on my last couple of things here
Me
as
too.
far as food goes. So the last one that was on the list was salt. So you need to be careful with the salt uh, that dogs are eating. So like chips, pretzels, popcorn, and stuff. If you're feeding them like tons of that stuff, it can obviously cause a condition known as salt poisoning or water deprivation. And so again, vomiting and diarrhea, tremors, fever, and seizures, and can be fatal in severe cases. So make sure like a big one for to think about there, us living in Canada, in the winter when you're taking care of your walkways and stuff around your house, a lot of people put salt down, especially after like freezing rain. um, and when you're walking out there with your dog, if it's getting caught in their pads and they're coming in and they're licking their paws, I would think that would be
Mm-hmm.
something to look out for too. Just
Yes.
a heads up.
Did you mention onions?
Not yet.
Oh,
Getting
sorry.
there. No probs.
Rewind. I'm going to mention a couple.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if you have tomatoes, but the tomato plant itself, I think the tomatoes also, they're not that great for dogs, but the green parts of the tomato plant can be very toxic to dogs.
Oh.
Another flower that's very pretty, the bird of paradise. It looks like a
Hmm.
bird and it looks like there's actually like an orange beak.
Wow.
Cause nausea, vomiting, and drowsiness.
Like just don't take your dogs to the gardens. It does look, I keep looking it up as you look, like that flower is really cool looking. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's pretty popular. Like I see it in like flower arrangements all the time.
Oh yeah.
And then there's hydrangeas who are
Hmm.
also very popular, not that who are also cause vomiting and diarrhea.
What? Crazy.
Mhm.
Crazy. Maybe this episode should be titled vomiting and diarrhea. Did I say that about the last episode too though?
I think so.
Vomiting and diarrhea part 1 and 2. Um yeah, my last group of things are sort of all just grouped together, and it just said like it's onions, garlic, and chives, milk and dairy products, macadamia nuts, and apples, apricots, and cherries. So the onions and garlic and chives can cause damage to dogs' red blood cells, causing anemia. So that's kind of super creepy, and that's not something that you'll
Mhm.
necessarily notice right away until it gets like really bad. So don't garlic your dogs there, folks, or feed them leftovers that are garlic and onion heavy. um, Milk and dairy products, dogs can become intolerant to lactose over time, and it also just causes like digestive problems in dogs, which is surprising because like I can tell you, a, a lot of different restaurant like fast food chains, when you go through a drive-through, there's like things that you can order for your dog. So at Tim Hortons,
Mhm.
our like donut and coffee shop up here, if you go through the drive-through and you're getting a coffee and you say, "Oh, I have my dog with me in the car," they'll give you a plain Timbit for your dog, a little like donut thing. It's just like a plain donut. It's pretty tiny.
Oh.
Um, so I always get one for my dogs when if I stop for a coffee and happen to have them in the car. But the big one is the that a lot of people do, and there's tons of videos of it, and I know several people
Yes.
that do it. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
The puppuccino,
The puppuccino.
the puppuccino from Starbucks, right? Which is essentially like a tiny little shot glass cup full of like whipped cream, and the dogs like love it. They're like, nom, 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 nom. Um, they love it like so much, but probably not a great idea. It's fun to do, you know, you're going through the Starbucks, they look at your dog and they go, "Oh my god, your dog's so cute."
Here's
"I'll
a
have a puppuccino,
puppuccino.
please." "Here's a
And then your dog's,
puppuccino."
like, so cute too, and you're like, "Here's the puppuccino," because 'cause you're so
Yes.
cute.
And yeah, and it's fun. Like I can
Yeah,
remember
that's
like,
interesting.
yeah, stopping at the traffic light and holding it for Gibbs and he's eating it in the cars next to me. We're just like, "Oh my god, Seven Up Cappuccino." Anyways, but yeah, you don't want to be giving them too much. And it doesn't talk about like specific quantities, but again, you have to keep in mind the size of your dog and how much they're ingesting. So for
Yeah.
Gibbs, like, you know, like a half ounce of whipped cream once or twice a year, which is like literally the amount of times that I have done that with him. I don't think is going to be too harmful for him like over time, and not even
No.
like twice a year. Like I hardly ever go to Starbucks, but whatever. Just keep that in mind if you're a huge puppuccino fan. Um,
Puppuccino.
the macadamia nuts contain an unknown toxin that causes like muscle tremors and vomiting and weakness in dogs, and they think that like because of like in any nuts really, the super high fat content in them leads to pancreatitis in dogs, like, or
Ooh.
inflamed pancreas. So be careful of that. And then I remember reading about this because I was in a play in like grade 9. It was this hilarious play called Arsenic and Old Lace, and it's about these old ladies that would like poison old dudes and keep them in the basement. And
Interesting.
I know. Anyways, and so the pits for cherries, apricots, apples, peaches, and plums contain cyanide. And I remember apple seeds also have a bit of arsenic in it as well. But it's like
Yes.
such a trace amount. But again, if you're feeding it to like an 8-pound dog, like if they
It's a
chew or
lot for
eat one of
them.
these, it can be a potentially like harmful amount. So none of that stuff either. So again, it's just like better to just train your dogs not to eat human food
Yes.
if you can.
Mhm.
So tempting to when you're cooking in the kitchen. And I can remember when my
I
mother-in-law's
know.
first dog passed away, she said that she didn't realize how how clean Bowie used to keep her kitchen floors.
Yes.
Like they were
My
so
kitchen floor
dirty.
is always dirty now.
I know, right?
I
The
drop
dogs.
stuff and I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe I have to pick that up."
I know. When my dad takes the dogs to the cottage and I drop stuff in the now I've trained my dogs that if I drop something on the floor, it's not a free for all. They don't come running in to like come and eat
That's
it.
good.
They wait until
Yeah.
I say okay, because you don't want them just eating whatever you drop, right? Because
Mhm.
it can potentially be super harmful. Like you don't want them licking up that entire beer off the floor if you drop it and
Yeah.
stuff like
Wiggum was
that.
pretty
So
good with leave it,
yeah.
but yeah.
Gibbon
He
just,
would go for it if it dropped, but if I
even
said leave it,
yeah,
he'd leave
if
it.
he's sitting there staring at me like he sometimes does when you're having a snack or whatever in a bag of chips and I drop a chip on the floor, he goes like he reacts to it, like his neck does a little like quick like jerking movement, like oh I want it, but he sits there and then he looks at like and then he's as soon as he looks at me, then I say okay, and then he goes and he's allowed to eat it. But
Good
yeah,
Gibbon.
yeah, leave it is a very good thing to train your dogs, especially when you're talking about like foods or potential like toxic things, or even when you're like
Yes.
at the park and they pick up like a roadkill,
Something.
like like
Oh,
off the side of the road. You can be like, leave
yeah.
it. So good thing to
I'm just
teach your
gonna
dogs.
mention one more plant
Yep.
that I always thought was very, very toxic for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's only mildly toxic,
Mm-hmm.
although I don't recommend like having it where your dog can reach if your dog is the type of dog that would eat plants. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the holiday plant, poinsettia.
Yes, poinsettias.
Poinsettias. I can't say.
It looks like
Oh my god,
poinsettia, poinsettia,
poinsettia.
but it's
So
poinsettias.
they're mildly toxic. I thought they
Mm-hmm.
were very, very toxic.
Me too.
Regardless, don't let your dog eat it. But
Yep.
so whenever you're going to get a plant, just make sure you make your research. See how poisonous, if it's poisonous. If it is, then maybe put it higher levels so that your dog doesn't reach it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All things to watch out for.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and again, just like when we were talking about foods and stuff, dogs will get into like certain types of foods and you have to like really watch them and be careful. And Vero and I were having a quick chat yesterday talking about all the things different dogs have eaten over time. And I have like a couple of different stories just to share, but it was my son's 5th birthday and he has it in the summer, and we were having this party out at my mother-in-law's place because she has a pool and stuff. So I came home on a Friday night. I had plans to do so, but I had to whip up these cupcakes for his party the next early afternoon. So I come home, I make a batch of cupcakes, and I say to my husband, who is like the biggest eater of sweets ever, I said, don't you dare touch these cupcakes. I have just enough for the kids that are coming to the party. So I go out for my plans for the evening and I come home late at night and I go into the kitchen, and lo and behold, there are 3 cupcakes missing. So upstairs I go, just stomping, and I just give my husband heck. I said, what the heck? I said specifically, do not eat those cup. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, don't give me that. I'm like, I'm like, there are 3 cups. He's
Aw.
like, Heidi, he's like, I swear I didn't eat them. And I was like, well, who would have eaten the cupcakes then, Matt? And he's like, well, the dog. I'm like, it would not be because Becky, we had her for like 2 years at that point. She had never stolen food or anything. And these cupcakes were pushed all the way to the back of the counter. So I was like, okay, whatever. And he's like, Heidi, he's like, go and look through the garbage cans for like the wrappers. He's like, I swear I didn't eat them. So I like go to bed kind of pissed off. So I wake up the next morning. Well, there's another 3 cupcakes missing. So he's like, see, I didn't wake up in the middle of the night and go eat them in my sleep. And so I was just like, well, it couldn't have been Becky. Like, it's too far back on the counter. Like, anyways, so we take off, we get to my mother-in-law's place. We're all playing around in the backyard, and Becky starts vomiting white wrappers and white vanilla
Aw.
cupcakes all over the
Guilty.
backyard. And I was just like, oh, and Matt was just like, see, I told you, you didn't believe me. Anyways, Becky is a sweets thief, to like big time. Obviously, the
Oh,
Toblerones, the
Becky.
cupcakes. My dad came home from the cottage once, said he had made a batch of muffins, and she ate the muffins and a quarter pound of butter that was on the table with them.
Wow.
She likes her baked goods, that one. So we are very careful when making stuff like that they are like in a Tupperware, or we leave them in the oven. Once the oven's cooled off, we keep that away from her. So yeah, dogs will um, eat the weirdest things that you wouldn't even think of. Um,
They have their preferences.
they absolutely do. Another one that made me laugh super hard was a friend of ours, Mark, had a German short-haired pointer, Molly. Or no, this was his old lab. Anyways, he comes home from the grocery store. He's putting the groceries away. Later on that night, he goes to make dinner. He can't find the butter anywhere. And he's like, no, I know I bought butter at the grocery store. And he's like, oh, I wonder if I left it there. He's like, whatever. So later on, he's taking his dog out for a walk, and the dog poops out a butter wrapper. And he's like, oh my god, this dog ate an entire pound of butter.
Oh,
So gross, these dogs.
gross.
Yeah. So everybody's got a dog eating story. It's pretty funny.
Yes. I'm sure mine will come up
I can't wait to
at
hear
some
what your dog's
point.
gonna eat. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So yeah, those are the things. So yeah, some of those plants, once you look at them, they'll be familiar. So what we'll do is we'll try to post these lists on our website and try to get some photos up there so you know what they look like.
Yes.
So even if you're, taking your dog to somebody else's home, you can identify what is potentially dangerous for them, and hopefully they're not plant eaters.
I was gonna sing man eater, but I didn't.
He's man eater. So I think that's it for today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us
And join us again next week
on Let's Boop Snoots.
on Let's Boop Snoots. Bye.
Bye.